We live in a very consumptive culture.
Yeah.
And in many ways, we're pushed towards consumption as sort of the American dream.
Yeah.
And what's interesting to me, or what I'm kind of, the dots that I'm connecting is like everything's pushing us towards consumption, and overconsumption tends to crowd out creation. And that in and of itself creates this stagnation. And so you've got all these people who, through varying means and methods, are being pushed somewhat consciously towards stagnation. So it's almost like, oh, of course there are so many people who feel stuck or feel unsatisfied or unfulfilled. It's because their entire life leading up to that moment where they realize it has been, here, consume more stuff, and let that crowd out any moment you might have for creativity and creation.
100%. Yeah. I mean, that is the model these days, right? It's just like consume. We're just going to push content at you at all times that you are very passive with. And it's not to say that you can't consume content that's interesting or might teach you something. You for sure can. Yeah. But the majority of it is just kind of vapid nothingness, right? It's just sort of like vacuous nothing that doesn't, again, you get to the end of the day and you're like, how did that really make me better? And it's not to say also, like, we need time for just recreation, and we need time to unwind, and we need time to just entertain and all of that. We need that. But part of the problem with that constant barrage of noise and information and everything, it's just like the ability to kind of separate and do nothing is people don't think as much anymore either. Like just think, sit there and think for a little bit. Right? I mean, and that goes back to sort of like the awareness of your own mind, but people look for distraction. Here's another thing too. The advent of AI, I think, is making this worse because you just have a robot now that does your work for you. And it's great. I love ChatGPT. It's a hugely valuable tool. But when you're forced to actually think for yourself, it's almost uncomfortable these days. I'll give you a prime example of this that just happened to me. I'm working on this book and I use an AI tool to help me edit it. And it's called Lex.page, really useful writing AI thing, just different than ChatGPT. It's more designed for authors. So as I'm writing, it's like I chat with it and it helps me restructure things. And I'm like, I don't like the way that sounds. Can you give me? And I was coming back from a trip on a flight, and I had 2 flights with a layover, and neither flight had Wi-Fi on them, which is really rare these days. So it was like 7 hours or something. And I'd gotten through all the podcasts I had downloaded. I'd read the entire book I had. I had nothing left to, and there was no screen either. There was no like videos to watch or anything. It was like old school, like plane with nothing to do. And I've got my laptop.
They call that raw dog.
Raw dog, yeah. I've seen that. Where guys
no
just like
screen.
Watch the flight.
You just stare at the seat. No headphones, no nothing.
Yeah. So I sat there for a few minutes at the beginning of this flight that was going to be on for like 3 hours. And I thought, all right, what can I do here? I'm like, I guess I could take the manuscript that's in Lex and I could just put it in a Word document and just work on it myself, like without AI. And it was daunting. I was like, shit, I'm going to have to just work on this myself. Just think. Mm-hmm. And it was a little bit of a checking myself aha moment of, wow, okay, you that's something to be aware of, right? Like your reliance on this thing, this artificial stupidity.
It parallels so nicely because you framed this up as mental fitness, right? Which is this thing that is trainable, and if you work at it, it improves. It's not something you need to necessarily, it can help, but a pharmaceutical or therapist. But no, you can go to the mental gym and do work. You have to work at this thing. You can think of the evolution of our species, right? Before the advent of the agricultural revolution, we were hunter-gatherers, and our physiques we didn't outsource our physicality to a horse with a plow. We didn't outsource it to a farm where we raised the cow. We had to go get it. We had to go hunt it. We had to go gather it. Fast forward to the Industrial Revolution, what we used to have to do to walk and transport on our backs, now we have cars and planes and trains, and things move faster than a horse, and we no longer could. We can now outsource more of our physicality. What this AI, to your point, we are now outsourcing our cognition. We are outsourcing our brains. And if we're not careful about that, to your point, we're going to fall farther into stagnation because it's the environment. We have to fight against this as well. Yes, we have to fight against the ultra-processed food that has consumed our environments. It's now when you get an oil change, you also have to say no to the Twizzlers. When you go to buy a printer from Staples, you have to say no to Sour Patch Kids. Like, it's everywhere. And you have to be so crazy intentional with this development of our physicality. Otherwise, if you let the environment take over, you're going to be up against it.
Yep.
And it's the same thing with where we are at the very, very beginning stages of this cognitive play as well.
Yeah. I think of that movie Idiocracy, Mike Judge, where it's just people get dumber and dumber, or like Wall-E, right? That movie.
Yeah, Wall-E's the one that I think about a lot as well. You know what also is interesting is you and Patrick both framed this up really nicely in terms of, what we're in front of now is a lot more distraction.
Yeah.
We talked about this framework, and Patrick, maybe you can help me remember who actually presented this, but there's this really cool, Chris, thing that we came across, which is, 50, 100 years ago, there was art. Like, and art enhanced your well-being.
Yeah.
Art made you better when you watched a ballet, when you read Shakespeare, when you saw even like some really incredible movies from the past that were art. Then somewhere along the lines, art turned into entertainment. And it wasn't necessarily about who can make the most beautiful thing, it's who can make the most entertaining thing.
Mm-hmm.
That then turned into, maybe I'm missing one here, Patrick, you can help me out, distraction, as you said. And then distraction has now led into, the game is not the distraction play. Like, no, pay attention over here. Don't worry about that. Pay attention over here. It's here. It's in the phone. It's now turned into addiction. How do you get them to actually not stop scrolling? Like, it's literally, that's the game. It's been monetized to who can keep eyeballs glued the most. That, is scary.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm doing a little of my own storytelling and finding that emotional thing about the future. But it is one of those things that we have to, again, be cautious of, because the game now is not, we think it's art or we think it's entertainment. This is so cool. But when you get to the end, as you said, you get to the end of the day, you're like, what the hell? What did I do? All I watched was like 7-second reels of nothing.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
You were distracted and addicted.
And it's funny, the more I think about it, the more I feel like this mind killer specifically is going to become more and more and more relevant, right? Like, again, it's all relevant and all that work needs to be done. But this is going to become more and more a part of people's, it's going to become more pervasive in society, where people have to resist this urge. You talk about like the music industry now. I watched a video. There's a guy, Rick Beato, who does a YouTube channel, which I really like. I don't know if you guys have ever seen his stuff, but whatever it is, millions of subscribers, but does a lot of breakdown music, just like really knows music theory, how to play instruments, and just dives into what makes songs really good. And he's talking about AI music now, where you can, and he does this in basically real time. It takes him like a couple of minutes, where he goes into whatever, I don't know if it's Claude or ChatGPT, and just basically creates a fake artist, says, hey, I need an indie kind of artist guy, creates a photo, looks like a real photo of this person, not a real person, fake name, little bio. And then it's like, okay, I want lyrics about this circumstance. It was like driving through the desert or something. Lyrics, right? Instantaneous. And then throws it into an AI music engine, use these lyrics, make a song in this style. Boom.
It's wild.
Yep. Like, it's getting to the point, there was a little, when it started with the AI music, you could kind of hear, but it was like a guy strumming a guitar singing, where I was like, if I heard that on the radio, I would have no idea. And no one had to learn an instrument to do that. No one had to learn how to write lyrics. No one had to do any introspection. Nothing. Zero. And that's fine from a consumer perspective of like, oh, this is a nice song. But from a people that are going to generate the content from, again, a personal growth perspective, that's terrifying of where we could get to, of nobody able to do anything anymore other than feed prompts into computers. I did a video the other day on social media where I was just showing people how to, I just figured out a guitar solo by ear, because, again, even that's a shortcut. Like in a skill, I'm not saying I don't do it. Of course I do. Like I'll look at videos on if I want to learn a song, how to play it. But the skill of I'm just going to listen to this and figure it out note by note is, again, like something I have to force myself to do, but there's a huge benefit to it. It makes me a better musician. I hear things now that I didn't hear before where I'm like, oh, I know what he's doing there. So yeah, it's going to become extremely relevant, more and more relevant.
I think there's another interesting parallel. There's lots of interesting parallels between the mental fitness and the physical fitness. And I think one of them is to get fit, to get fitter is very uncomfortable. And you have to accept that discomfort day after day after day in order to move closer to that fitness. And I think that what we're talking about today, especially what we're just talking about, is to fight against stagnation, to create and not consume, to think when it's easy not to think, is we are now entering into a period where it's going to be just as easy to be physically unfit as it is to be mentally unfit, because it's so easy to use AI, to consume, to jump on your phone, to do whatever. And now more and more and more, we're faced with the discomfort of starting to build the mental fitness, because the world is conspiring to make it really, really easy to just take the easy road one more time and one more time.
And the other thing that we didn't even talk about yet is it's more and more just telling you what you already want to hear. Right? It's not exposing you to new ideas. It's like, oh, you like this? I'm going to feed you more of that. You like this is what you believe? I'm going to feed you more of that. Right? So like we have to do extra work now, to your point, be uncomfortable and think about and entertain ideas that don't coincide with what we already believe or what we already think we know. And that takes extra work now in a way that it didn't before, because you just everyone's in their own echo chamber. You're in this knowledge bubble, belief bubble of information. That's just like, I'm safe, right? I'm in this echo chamber and I'm good. And I don't have to listen to anything I don't like. And yeah, it takes more work these days, but you have to do that. It doesn't mean you have to look, you can still, but entertaining those ideas is really important. Debating people is important. Having an argument, like a civil argument that exposes you to something like, I didn't think of it that way maybe. And being open to those suggestions. Again, that's a curiosity. Like, am I really interested in what this person has to say? Am I really interested in their point of view? That's wonder. That's a sense of awe, right?
I like what you said. I think that's a really good clarifier. When you say the word debate, I think most people go, yeah, I'm going to try to win. I'm going to try to get my point across. But like you said about your dad walked around with this crazy sense of curiosity and wonder and you just said it like, what can I learn from this person?
Yeah, right.
That I think is such a valuable character trait, to go into every situation, every interaction, asking yourself, what can I learn from this?
Yes. And as you tie all that back together, right? So if you think of that like that final kind of countermeasure and circling it back on itself, this is called the countermeasures is the arrow. It's the mental fitness arrow. So if you take the first letter of each one of those, awareness, reframing, regulation, openness, wonder, it spells arrow. And the whole idea is like, this is the direction we want to go. And it's also kind of a weapon. I come from the military. We love acronyms too. So it's like, this is a weapon to fight the mind.
You're in a safe place.
Yes. Yeah. It's a weapon to fight the battle of the mind killers too. But as that kind of loop closes on itself, that curiosity and the observation from the beginning, that is like, if you're to encapsulate the whole idea, it's curious observation. Right? Internally and externally, right? That is like the embodiment of mental fitness is curious observer.